Hare Krishna, so we are continuing to read On the Way to Krishna by His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Page number 64, chapter 5. This is Shravanam Diaries podcast and I'm your host Sulalita Devidasi. So, chapter 5, Steering Toward the Supreme. Udarah sarva evaite jnanitvatmaiva me matam ashtita sahi yuktatma mam evanu tamam gatim. Quote, all these devotees are undoubtedly magnanimous souls, but he who is situated in knowledge of me, I consider verily to dwell in me. Being engaged in my transcendental service, he attains me. Unquote, Bhagavad Gita 7.18. Here, Krishna is saying that all the men who come to him, whether they be distressed, in need of money, curious, etc., are welcomed, but out of them, the person who is in knowledge is very dear to him. The others are welcomed because it is understood that in course of time, if they continue on the path to God, they will become as good as the man of knowledge. Generally, however, it so happens that when one goes to church for profit and the money doesn't come, he concludes that approaching God is nonsense and he gives up all connection with the church. That is the danger of approaching God with ulterior motives. For instance, during World War II, it was reported that many wives of the German soldiers went to church to pray for their husbands' safe return. But when they found they had been killed in battle, they became atheistic. Thus, we want God to become our order supplier, and when He does not supply our order, we say that there is no God. That is the effect of praying for material things. In this connection, there is a story of a little boy about 5 years old, named Dhruva, who belonged to a royal family. In the course of time, his father, the king, tired of his mother and deposed her as his queen. He then took another woman as queen, and she became stepmother to the boy. She was very envious of him, and one day, as Dhruva was sitting on the father's knee, she insulted him. "Oh, you cannot sit on the lap of your father," she said, "because you are not born of me." She dragged Dhruva from his father's lap, and the boy became very angry. He was the son of a Kshatriya, and Kshatriyas are notorious for their quick tempers. Dhruva took this to be a great insult, and he went to his mother, who had been deposed. "Dear mother," he said, "my stepmother has insulted me by dragging me down from my father's lap." "Dear son," the mother replied, "what can I do? I am helpless, and your father no longer cares for me." "Well, how can I take revenge?" the boy asked. "My dear boy, you are helpless. Only if God helps you, you can take revenge." "Oh, where is God?" Dhruva immediately asked enthusiastically. "I understand so many sages go to the jungle and forest to see God," the mother replied. "They undergo great penances and austerities in order to find God there." At once, Dhruva went to the forest and began asking the tiger and the elephant, "Oh, are you God? Are you God?" In this way, he was questioning all the animals. Seeing that Dhruva was very much inquisitive, Shri Krishna sent Narada Muni to see about the situation. Narada quickly went to the forest and found Dhruva. "My dear boy," Narada said, "you belong to the royal family. You cannot suffer all this penance and austerity. Please return to your home. Your mother and father are very much anxious for you." "Please don't try to divert me in that way," the boy said. "If you know something about God, Or if you know, how can I see God? Please tell me. Otherwise, go away and don't disturb me. When Narada saw that Dhruva was so determined, he initiated him as a disciple and gave him the mantra Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Dhruva chanted this mantra and became perfect, and God came before him. My dear Dhruva, what do you want? You can take from me whatever you want. My dear Lord, the boy replied, I was undergoing such severe penances simply for my father's kingdom and land, but now I have seen you. Even the great sages and saints cannot see you. What is my profit? I left my home to find merely some scraps of glass and rubbish, and instead I have found a very valuable diamond. Now I am satisfied. I have no need to ask anything of you. Thus, even though one may be poverty-stricken or in distress, if he goes to God with the same determination as Dhruva, intent on seeing God and taking his benediction, and if he happens to see God, he will no longer want anything material. He comes to understand the foolishness of material possessions, and he puts the illusion aside from the real thing. When one becomes situated in Krishna consciousness like Dhruva Maharaj, he becomes fully satisfied and doesn't want anything. The Jnani, the wise man, knows that material things are flickering. He also knows that there are three aspects that complicate all material gain. One wants profit from his work, one wants adoration from others because of his riches, and one wants fame because of his wealth. In any case, he knows that all of these apply but to the body, and that when the body is finished, they also go. When the body dies, one is no longer a rich man, but a spirit soul. And according to his work, he has to enter another body. The Gita says that a wise man is not bewildered by this, for he knows what is what. Why then should he bother himself attaining material wealth? His attitude is, I have an eternal connection with Krishna, the Supreme Lord. Now, let me establish that relationship firmly so that Krishna will take me back to his kingdom. The cosmic situation is giving us all facility to re-establish this relationship with Krishna and return to Godhead. This should be our mission in life. Everything we need is being supplied by God: land, grain, fruits, milk, shelter, and clothing. We only have to live peacefully and cultivate Krishna consciousness. That should be our mission in life. We should therefore be satisfied with what God has supplied in the form of food, shelter, defense, and sex, and should not want more and more and more. The best type of civilization is one that ascribes to the maxim of plain living and high thinking. It is not possible to manufacture food or sex in a factory. These and whatever else we require are supplied by God. Our business is to take advantage of these things and become Krishna conscious. Although God has given us all facilities to live peacefully on this earth, cultivate Krishna consciousness, and finally to come to Him, in this age we are unfortunate. We are short-lived, and there are so many people without food, shelter, married life, or defense from the onslaughts of nature. This is due to the influence of this age of Kali. Therefore, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, seeing the dreadful situation in this age, dreadful, right, emphasized the absolute necessity for cultivating spiritual life. And how should we do it? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gives the form. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gives the formula. Harer Nama, Harer Nama, Harer Nama Eva Kevalam, Kalau Nastyeva, Nastyeva, Nastyeva Gatiranyatha. Quote, just always chant Hare Krishna, unquote. Never mind whether you are in a factory or in a hell, in a shack or in a skyscraper. It doesn't matter. Just go on chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. There is no expense, there is no impediment, there is no caste, there is no creed, there is no color. Anyone can do it. Just chant and hear. Somehow or other, if one comes into contact with Krishna consciousness and executes the process under the guidance of a bona fide guide, he is sure to go back to God. Bahunam janmanam ante gyanavan mam prapadyante vasudeva sarvam iti samahatma sudurlabha. Quote, after many births and deaths, he who is actually in knowledge surrenders unto me, knowing me to be the cause of all causes and all that is. Such a great soul is very rare. Unquote, Bhagavad Gita 7.19. Philosophical research into the science of God has to be prosecuted for many births. God realization is very easy, but at the same time, it is very difficult. It is easy for those who accept Krishna's word as truth, but those who try to understand through research work, by dint of advancement of knowledge, have to create their faith after finishing so much research work, and this process takes many births. There are different types of transcendentalists called Tattvavit, who know the absolute truth. The transcendentalists call the absolute truth that in which there is no duality. In the absolute truth, there is no duality. Everything is on the same level. One who knows this in truth is called Tattvavit. Krishna proclaims that the absolute truth is known in three aspects: Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. Impersonal Brahman effulgence, localized Supersoul, and the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Thus, there are three angles from which one may envision the absolute truth. One may view a mountain from a great distance, and thus perceive it in the form of one angle of vision. As he comes closer, he may see the trees and foliage of the mountain. And if he begins to climb the mountain, he will find so many variegatedness in trees, plants, and animals. The objective is the same, but due to different angles of vision, sages have different conceptions of the absolute truth. Another example, there is the sunshine, the sun disk, and the sun god. One who is in the sunshine cannot claim that he is on the sun itself, and one who is situated in the sun is, from the point of view of vision, better situated. The sunshine may be compared to the all-pervasive Brahma Jyoti effulgence. The localized sun disk may be compared to the localized aspect of the Supersoul. And the sun god, who resides within the sun, may be compared to the personality of Godhead. As on this Earth planet we have a multi-variety of living entities, we can understand from Vedic literatures that in the Sun also there is a variety of living entities, but their bodies are made of fire, just as ours are made of earth. In material nature, there are 5 gross elements: earth, water, air, fire, and space. In different planets, there are different atmospheres due to one of these 5 elements prevailing. And there are different bodies for the living entities composed of whatever element may be predominant in a particular planet. We should not think that all planets have the same quality of life. Yet, there is uniformity in the sense that these 5 elements are present in some form or another. Thus, on some planets, earth is prominent, fire is prominent, water is prominent, and air and space are prominent. We should not think, therefore, that just because a planet is not composed primarily of earth, or because the atmosphere does not duplicate ours, that there is no life on these planets. Vedic literatures give us information that there are countless planets filled with living entities with different types of bodies. As by making some material adjustment, we can qualify to enter into different material planets. By qualification, we can enter the spiritual planet where the Supreme Lord resides. Haribo! Yanti deva vrata devan, pitrin yanti pitrivrata, bhutani yanti bhuteja, yanti madhyajinopimam. Quote, those who worship the demigods will take birth among the demigods. Those who worship the ancestors go to the ancestors, and those who worship me will live with me. There's also one line actually in this translation missing. Yanti deva vrata devan. If you worship demigods, you go to demigods. Pitrin yanti pitrivrata. Those who worship ancestors go to the ancestors. Bhutani yanti bhutaja. One who worships ghosts and spirits will take birth among those beings. Yanti mad yajunopimam. Those who worship me will live with me. Bhagavad Gita 9.25. In Bhagavad Gita book, it's there. Those who are trying to enter higher planets can go there, and those who are trying to qualify to enter into Galoka Vrindavan, the planet of Krishna, can also enter there by the process of Krishna consciousness. Before going to India, we may acquire a description of what the country is like. The hearing of a place is the first experience. Similarly, if we want to get information about the planet where God lives, we have to hear. We cannot immediately make an experiment and go there. That is not possible. But we have so many descriptions of the supreme planet in Vedic literature. For instance, the Brahma Samhita 5.29 states, Chintamani prakara sadma sukalpa vriksha laksha vriteshu surabhira bipalayantam Lakshmi sahasra shata sambrama sevyamanam Govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. Quote, I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, the first progenitor who is tending the cows, fulfilling all desire, in abodes built with spiritual gems, surrounded by millions of wish-fulfilling trees, always served with great reverence and affection, by hundreds and thousands of Lakshmis or Gopis. There are also other detailed descriptions given, specifically in the Brahma Samhita. Jai, we're going to stop here for today, And tomorrow we shall continue with this chapter, and it's the last chapter of the book. Actually, we're finishing the book tomorrow. Wow, so thank you so much for tuning in today. The link to this book is in the description. Please read along and share it with your friends. And we shall see you next time. Hare Krishna.